Good morning and welcome to another garden tour, this time for June 2024. I'm going to go ahead and do an extensive walkthrough of all of my gardens, talk about a few things, probably not name every plant, but it's more for my benefit, but I hope that you enjoy as well. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get touring. As always, we're going to go ahead and start in my front garden. I did recently get to mulch my garden beds by the help of my mother, who picked it up and helped me spread it. And I am very happy I did. A fresh mulch bed is just so lovely to me. Anyway, starting with my flowers, my phlox continues to spread. This clematis has had the best year for me that it ever has. I'm hoping to eventually train it up the pole a little bit more, but it's done flowering now for the season, so I'll probably cut it back soon. I have a Gerber daisy that's still trying to push out here, but I haven't gotten any flowers. And then this pot needs to be torn apart soon. I've been holding on to the last dregs of the flowers, but there's also bulbs in there I need to take out and dry and plant in the fall. This is one of the things I moved from my pollinator garden. I thought it was penstemon, but the way it bloomed, I'm not sure that it is, so I need to identify what that is. This pot of pansies and violas is still holding on. Of course, Aran calendulas everywhere. This is pretty. This is the first time I've actually seen this, and I'm actually not even sure what it is. Maybe it's a floret precious metals? Not sure. All right, let's go ahead. There's my Rudbeckia, more calendula. Oh, this I did want to show. My apple blossom yarrow that I picked up. Very pretty. I'm trying to figure out, I kind of want it to spread before I cut a bunch for drying, but I hope it dries in that color. We'll have to see. Let's go ahead and spin over to this side. Sunflower I didn't plant, of course. So this pot is just about done. I think my plan is to rip out everything over the 4th of July weekend and refresh it with some new flowers. I have a couple ideas, but I'm not sure yet. But it was very stunning for spring, and I'm happy I did it. The Chinese foreign marbles have still, of course, taken over, even though I've ripped out so many. It keeps spreading itself. A Cosmo I didn't plant. I don't think it loves its life, like it doesn't get enough water being that close to the sidewalk, but it is what it is. I have 2 dahlias in here that I did not plant. This one I've actually never seen. It looks like it's going to be a nice dark red one, so I'm excited for that. That was a seedling I did last year, and it didn't bloom because it got shadowed out by the foreign marbles. And then that one back there is actually my pink dinner plate that I thought I killed. I brought it back. Didn't bloom last year because of being shadowed out, so I left it. And looks like it's good. I already cut 2 flowers off of it. Pretty happy about that. I do have some zinnias up here. This one is being shadowed out too, but it was I think it was purple, and I cut it because I'm trying to make sure I get nice bushy growth. But I'm going to have to come in here and tie some stuff back, especially because there's dahlias I wasn't expecting. More calendula. My limelight, I think it's very happy being moved up here. It's already putting on beautiful show. I love these flowers. So hopefully that continues to spread and fill in that area. I think it'll be a nice resting spot from all the color everywhere else. Another zinnia I didn't plant. Kind of looks like it might be pink. Guess we'll find out. Back to this side, zinnia, calendula. I did cut back my salvia so that I would hopefully get another fresh set of blooms. And this one, so when I grew a bunch of these, I forgot why I bought them. They said they were mini, and I didn't know what mini meant in the zinnia world because I've never had one. But it's so cute. I love it so much. Happy about that. This pot here, the Calibroca seems to be doing good, like pouring outside of the pot. The Osteospermum seems to have, I don't know, it doesn't have any buds. I kind of feel like this happens to me every year with these, where they don't keep flowers as often. So I don't know. And then another calendula. This is my Ivory Princess. I do like the white one a lot. More Rudbeckia. My mum here, it needs to get its chop done here soon. I just haven't gotten to it. Probably 4th of July weekend. Another zinnia I don't believe I planted. Looks like it's going to be purple or something. That one I think I planted, probably the coral. I do have a deadlock amaranth back there. It's not really loving its location, so it might not do much, but if it did, that'd be pretty cool. This pot has become pretty stunning. The dichondra with the lamb's ear I really like, with the light purple combination, and then the pops of dark purple. I think the only thing I wish I could change is I wish the verbena was a little bit more vigorous to keep up with the petunia. All right, let me get out of this jungle here really quick. All right, my main Gerber daisy. This is the one that comes back every year. It came back really full this year. It's like a nice hottish pink. So I've been cutting that because I want to keep it going. I did put some Canterbury bells here. Couldn't think of the name. They won't bloom this year, but hopefully they will next year. And then this mallow wines cup I got at a native plant sale. It has taken over the space, but I'm okay with it because I really like the little pops of color it spreads. Sunflower I didn't plant. Another basket I did plant though, my Supertunia Bordeaux. I did my Gomphrena, and I have a little mini petunia that's like white and yellow. I happened to throw in a mix of snapdragons, and they happened to also be white and yellow, which was oddly convenient. And then my blushing princess Lobularia. The Bordeaux is going to need a chop here soon so that it doesn't dry out in the actual pot, but again, probably 4th of July weekend. I did go ahead and cut back my lilac though. I wasn't going to do a full rejuvenation prune like I did last year because the rejuvenation prune I did last year really helped the lilac bush. So I didn't feel like it needed it completely, but I did want to go ahead and chop some of the branches off. And I kind of sped that up because my hanging basket keeps falling and it fell down and broke a couple of the branches. So I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and finish that off then. In this area, my blue cornflowers, they're kind of like spent for the season, along with my foxglove. Like, it's still pushing out little blooms here and there, but I'm leaving it because I want the seeds to spread to maybe fill in that area more so, because that was really beautiful. Again, I've got snapdragons here. They're the apple blossom, another one of my favorites, also letting them dry so they can spread their seeds. I've got a mum there as well that's doing well. And I have my red daylily. I'm probably going to dig that up and separate it soon so that it doesn't get too large. And then I'll probably share that with my mother. I still have a little phlox under there, under all the cornflowers. The bunnies ate it down and it bounced back, so that's good. And then of course my tree, that is again very beautiful. And then on this side, I've got my mallows I've been letting kind of take over. I still have one more of the Sweet William. I forget the other name of it now. It's too early in the morning, I guess. Still have one of those. I have the mallows. And then, of course, my beautiful butterfly bush every year. I did plant a couple poppies under there. They didn't get very big, which is fine, but I'm letting them go again, spread their seeds. Hopefully they'll come back next spring. All right, so that is my front garden. Let's go ahead and transition to the vegetable. All right, so let's transition to the vegetable garden. If I had to give this one name this year, I would say she's wild. I tried something different this year. Usually I go through and like weed all of the walkways and pull everything out. But this year I decided just to kind of let it happen, see what happens. And that way it's like a pollinator paradise, but then it's also productive. And for the most part, that's worked out pretty well so far. So let's go ahead and start this side. So my raspberries here, they're kind of fizzling out here. I mean, I'm still getting some every now and then. So I probably need to come through and harvest those before the birds eat them soon. But I was able to harvest enough of my own homegrown raspberries that I actually made jam for the first time. And it was pretty good. Topped up, of course, with Caleb's homemade bread because he got into making bread, which I can't complain. My lettuce bed is about done, of course. It's been hot this year. Like, it's had a lot more longer days of being hot, so the lettuce didn't last quite as long as it usually does. But again, I let it go, I let it flower, because then it will spread its seeds and hopefully more lettuce will come up next year without me having to use my seeds. I've been having a lot of issues with bugs that are eating like my brassicas, which, you know, they're not covered, so that's totally expected. But I've been happy because it looks like my kale is actually coming back. So that should live the rest of the season as long as the bugs don't decimate it, or like a windstorm, which has happened to me before. So I should be able to have kale for the most of the season. I did plant another Swiss chard because I don't really like Swiss chard, but I mean, how can you say no to these pretty like rainbow stems? So that's kind of what happened there. I thought I wasn't going to have arugula this year, which kind of made me sad, but it's been popping up all over the place. So I have some arugula back, which is great. And my beet experiment this year worked out. Basically what I did is I started a bunch of seeds in like little pots. And then when I felt like they were big enough, I separated each seed and painfully planted each one by itself so that it had space so it could bulb up and so I could get beets. And then I covered it with a net so the deer didn't come in and get it. And so far it's been working out for me. I harvested a couple and I can tell that they're getting more sizable. So hopefully we'll harvest some more of those soon. I also have my potato patch here. I've actually been surprised it's still living as long as it has, because it's flowered a few times, but the deer keep coming by and just like eating the flowers. So it kind of keeps living. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, but I can tell they're finally starting to brown here at the bottom. So I think I should be able to harvest those very shortly, which then I'm going to get rid of the net because right now they're laying on top of the net. My two pots back here, I did plant up ranunculus that I had pre-sprouted, and that pot bloomed, but this one didn't. And I think what I found out is I just planted my ranunculus too late, so I didn't get any blooms for them. Well, I got some, but I didn't get very many this year. So I already dug those up, dried those off, bagged them up. I'll try again next year, starting them sooner. But in the meantime, I went ahead and threw some nasturtium seeds and some sweet pea seeds, and I think a third thing, because those seedlings are not either one of those. So we'll see. Hopefully they get some pretty flowers. That one had a random sweet pea come up, so I'm happy about that. Let that go. The rest of this bed, I have not planted any of this. It's just whatever calendula. Sorry. I have dill here. I've got chamomile that's done now. And I also have a fennel there. That little pot over there I also didn't plant. It's just calendula and random poppies. So this bed is kind of wild and I like it. I did plant some onions. That's kind of false. So I'll make sure I harvest those soon. Speaking of random poppies, this really pretty, I'm going to say it's the mother of pearl because it's the only variety I have that's like a pink, grew here. And it's so cute. Look, it pops through the chair. So I'm really happy that that one just randomly popped up and that I identified it as a poppy. My pansies here look pretty bad. probably need to cut those out. And along with my amaranth, which, you know, it's not going to get very sizable being in a pot with 5 like this, but that's what I chose to do. All right, my brassica bed. So I had pretty good success having the brassicas in this bed this year. I've already harvested 2 heads of cabbage. I've been cutting off the broccoli sprouts as they come up. I also harvested a whole cauliflower head. And I've got I think only 2 really good red cabbages. I think that third one's not going to really make anything at this point. And then I've got 2 more green lettuces, which, sorry, I say lettuce, it's cabbage. The bugs are definitely getting in there and going after them, but I have cabbage in my fridge still from my first harvest, so I'm trying to get through that before I cut this, because I only really use cabbage for fresh eating, or I make like a breakfast hash with cabbage and I'll freeze those portions, which I have egg roll in a bowl on my meal plan for this week, and also shrimp tacos because I use cabbage in that. So whatever I don't use, I'll probably do the breakfast hash, and then I can come through and harvest more of these. The calendula kind of popped up on its own. I do have 2 broccolis that I'm cutting off of. Again, this dahlia must have accidentally left a tuber, so I've got a random dahlia in here. Also a random sunflower that was bent because he was trapped, so I freed him yesterday. And then I've got Brussels sprouts back here. So this will be my 3rd year trying Brussels sprouts, and they get so far and then it gets too hot and they die. This one over here, I cut a bunch of leaves off yesterday because I noticed a whole bunch of cabbage moth worms eating all my Brussels sprouts. But it's the only one that has little baby Brussels sprouts starting. These 2 sort of have like nooks in their elbows that look like they're gonna turn in, and they look a lot healthier, like it's only attacking that one. But I don't have Brussels sprouts yet, so fingers crossed, hopefully it works out. May not, we'll find out. This did have potatoes in it. I have already harvested those because those died back quickly, and I just dug up random cosmos that had seeded itself everywhere and put them in there for the year. Also looking at this pot, the only things I planted was the alyssum, the dreadlocks here, which I think are really cool, and the sweet pea, which has been very beautiful. Very happy about that. Looks like there's a couple weeds in there, but then, you know, random stuff too, like sunflower, fennel, things like that. And the inside in my tunnel, I did 2 green beans on the side. This one is still alive. This one is, I think it's dead. It's got 1 little bean on it. Also did sweet peas as well, which they were also very beautiful. Very happy with that. More random calendula I didn't plant. I'm probably going to pull this out soon because I think it's shadowing my tomatoes more than I'd prefer it to. But I really like to encourage pollinators into my garden, which having flowers that they can pollinate really helps with that. So on this side, I had some random things pop up. I'm assuming they're cucumber, but I don't know for sure. But I did plant a honey nut squash that I grew from seed. And then I have my cherry tomato tunnel area. So this is just my regular red cherry, and it has a couple blushing tomatoes here. In between, I planted basils. The basils on this side are doing much better. My purple bumblebee has been kind of crazy. I don't think I've ever had it this prolific and this like thick stemmed. So I don't know, I must have done something in this bed that makes it a little bit more fertile than the others. I have no idea. And then I have my Rosella tomato, which is actually putting out quite large trusses of tomatoes. So looking forward to cherry tomato season coming into full swing. I also have the cucumbers I grew from seed in here, which I'm starting to get some cucumbers, which is exciting. I planted some nasturtiums here. Was trying to, again, appease pollinators. My snap peas are pretty much done. I'm still getting some though. So I haven't pulled it out yet because I kind of, you know, if I can get more food off of it, then I don't want to lose it. So on this side, I have the black cherry tomato, which I'm kind of sad this one's so puny because it's one of my favorites. This is the yellow pear, which has some nice looking fruit coming in. And then this is my Napa blush, which I've picked 1 of the tomatoes so far. But they're also like really thin stem. That's why I'm saying there must be something over here that's just not as nutrient rich. Or it's the other plants probably stealing all the nutrients, which, you know, that's part of planting. Again, snap peas, but still putting off peas. So I haven't ripped it out yet. My bee balm came back. It's funny how this side's always larger and later than this side, but very, very pollinator friendly. In these pots here, the pansies are almost done, so I also threw in some I think they're Thai chili peppers, because I know that they're not super big. So I did that on both sides. I didn't show you in the front there. I do have 2 zucchini plants that do not look super great, but they're still hanging in. Over here, though, my zucchini is doing much better. Again, more fertile bed, I guess. Oh my goodness, what is that? I don't know what those eggs are. I'll have to investigate that. Anyway, this is just a golden zucchini, so it's still zucchini. And I've been able to pull a couple off that. They don't seem to get large, so I've only gotten about that size so far. But this cosmos came up and I kind of just let it along with the sunflower because it'll be pretty. And then up front here, another cosmos grew. I think, yeah, there's a torch flower growing right here. This was also all poppies. It had a mix of black swan and blue Hungarian. And then these mother of pearl poppies that just kind of, I love them. They keep producing blooms. Like, I love the black swan and the blue Hungarian. They just don't last very long. And at least the blue Hungarian, I can harvest the poppy seeds. Not that I know exactly what to do just yet, but I did harvest them this year. But these just keep popping off more and more blooms, which I think is really cool. Ooh, look at that. Oh, it's just a poppy shell. I thought it was a cool worm. Sunflowers, torchflower, calendula, this beautiful, huge dill. That's like a true bouquet dill. And I have elephant ears. And I have this random onion. I love to let the onions go to see the flowers because I think they're just so whimsical. I've got a couple dahlias here that they didn't produce. I emailed about 2 of them. I've got one that's coming back and that one died, but I've got another clipping that seems to be hanging on. So cosmos here. I think this is an amaranth, but I didn't plant it, so we'll see. And then this is my hot pepper bed. So I've got jalapenos pretty much the first 3 rows. The other side of that row is a Fresno, and then I have a kale in the middle because I was trying to make sure I could keep kale. And then I think I have a Sugar Rush peach in the front because it was extra and I had room. This row then is the rest of my Fresnos. There's 3 of them. And then this row is my Serranos. I harvested my first jalapeno yesterday and it was delicious. So excited. I actually ran out. I didn't freeze enough last year. I had to buy store-bought for the last month, which was really sad, but I'll make sure I make up for that this year. Sorry, I was distracted by the bee. These are my poblano plants. I was planning to only plant 2, but I had an extra that nobody wanted, so now I have 3. But that should be great because I got a really sad poblano harvest last year. And then my sweet potato bucket. It's got 5 sweet potato slips in it, along with onions planted around the perimeter. So hopefully we'll have some sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving. This pot over here is a mirror of that one in obviously different stages of wellness. So the alyssum here is doing a lot better. The dreadlocks, though, is kind of behind. Another random amaranth and cosmos is popping up. And then I have the really pretty sweet pea. Oh, and I have this really pretty cosmos, too. Yeah, so we'll just go around the side. So this bed here, this is also my main pepper bed. So up front, I have my Thai chili, I have my fire red pepper, and then I have the Sugar Rush peach that I was trying this year, along with the one artichoke I got to germinate this year. A bunch of calendula. I've been pulling it out because I didn't want my peppers to not get pollinated properly, because I want to make sure I have good peppers this year. But these should all be bell peppers. Yeah, I think every single one of these is bell peppers. Now, they're different varieties. For the most part, they're California Wonder, but I did plant a couple purple bell peppers and Aloha bell peppers, which if you let those ripen after green, one will turn purple, one will turn a mix of red and yellow. So I kind of do both. Like the California Wonders, if you let them ripen, they'll turn red, and then those will turn the other colors. But I try to harvest some of the green, leave a couple to turn the other colors, and go from there. Again, random sunflowers. I also have my main green bean patch in here, so this whole row is green beans. I've got a mixture of the jade beans, another one that I don't have the variety name for, and dragon's tongue, along with, again, a huge amount of calendula. I love this plant. Like, it's so pollinator happy, and this year I actually did take the effort of popping the blooms off, drying them, and I'm actually going to try and make something out of calendula for the first time, even though I've said I'd do it all this time. So I've been letting that go, but as it overshadows or starts turning like mildewy, I'll rip it out. I did plant 2 dahlias back here because I ran out of room in my main bed, and these are seedlings that I grew last year, dug up the tubers, saved, and then replanted. So this one should be like a nice orange. In my mind, I'm calling it like lion's mane dahlia, just because of its shape and color. And then that one over there is like a honey cupcake is what I'm kind of calling it, because it's like the middle is yellow and then it's like a blush pink. So that one might struggle a little bit more because of the giant sunflowers that are taking over. So we'll see how long the sunflowers last, because I really like the look of the wild giant sunflowers, but they do really take a lot of nutrients and sunlight from other plants, so I have to play it safe. Along the back side of this bed then, I do have my 2 tomatoes. This one I made a grave mistake, and for some reason cut off the leader, because I thought it was a side shoot, but I was unfortunately wrong. It's got some nice looking fruits, big ones that are coming in. They're not changed yet, of course. So I'm gonna actually let the side shoots, like I'm not gonna cut off any suckers from this plant and just let it take over. Like, my fruit will be smaller, but at least I'll get it, and purple Cherokee is one of my favorites. I also did the purple trailing nasturtiums along the side. They've also been really pretty. So there's a plug for those as well. And then this is my striped German tomato. This one's doing the worst as far as like actual tomato production. See, it seems to not be getting pollinated, and or it's super persnickety, so I keep trying. They were seeds somebody got me from Amazon, which I'm always kind of leery about that, but I can't find them anywhere else, so we'll see what happens with that one. Before I go to my final bed, just to show you this area really quick, I keep wanting to, I don't know, stick in a pole and like help tie all of these bachelor buttons and everything up, but I don't know, it is another pollinator haven. I know that they're kind of laying over, but the bees are always all over them, and it's just wild with the poppies mixed in and the bachelor buttons of all different colors. And then I've got my floral greenstock tower that's full of snapdragons and other things, and lavender that I've been actually cutting and harvesting this year, herbs, all kinds of stuff. So I haven't really gotten to this area yet because I've just been enjoying it in its natural state. My newer greenstock, my plan is to fill it with the strawberries, like take the strawberries out of here and move them over here and just kind of fill this greenstock with it. But since I'm not ready for that yet, and I don't want to like kill the strawberries, I've been holding off, and I just have other herbs and flowers growing in there. And then I was gonna rip the strawberries out of here, put them in there, and turn this into like a blueberry barrel, but I got a good amount of strawberries this year, so I, again, don't really want to start over and wait another 3 years till I get strawberries, so I probably won't do that. I do have a random basket of mixed snapdragons there as well. There's a forget-me-not. I moved my chives over here. That's a California poppy. Random sunflowers. My husband calls them the enforcers. Let's look at this bed before I get towards my greenhouse. Again, purple trailing nasturtium, very pretty. Random sunflowers. This is my dahlia patch. Now, I know there's a lot of calendula in here, but again, the dahlias aren't big enough to need this space just yet, so I've kind of just let them go because it's a sea of flowers. But I have been steadily pulling them out as they overshadow my dahlias. I did too, for the first time, have issues where I think I watered the dahlias too much by accident, and then the bulbs actually disintegrated in the bed. I had that happen to a couple of them. Thankfully, I was able to save my cafe au lait just a little bit. I have the Daddy's Girl. I don't remember all the varieties. I'd have to look at them all. But they all seem to be doing healthy now. I do have one empty spot over there, which when that other dahlia tuber gets large enough, I'll put her in there. That's my Nettie. And I did have the middle row planted full of dahlias, but I think that would have been too much. So I am not going to fill the middle of this. Any other random dahlias I have, I'll just plant them elsewhere. It looks like the first variety I'm going to actually see in this bed is going to be my Arabian Nights. And I love those, so I'm okay with that. I also did my beet experiment here in the middle. And these actually sized up and looked healthier than those. So these were actually the first ones I was able to harvest. So we'll see. This fennel is crazy. I love it though, and I didn't plant it. So what I keep doing is keep just tying it so it doesn't overshadow my dahlias, but I can't bring myself to get rid of it. There's something about that vintage like yellow vibe it gives off that I just love. My carrots, they don't seem to be sizing up to the size that I remember them getting by this point. I think my hypothesis is that the soil is covered with moss, which potentially is not allowing the carrots to get enough nutrients, enough water, whatever the issue may be. Might be the location, maybe it doesn't get as much sunlight where I moved it this year. So I'm just going to keep letting it go though, see what happens, and I'll try differently for fall. The only other things on this bed is I've also got my 2 slicer tomatoes here, which this is my Black Beauty, which is putting on nice fruit. And then I have my Robeson, which is also putting on nice fruit. So I at least have 2 out of 4 of my slicers doing well. I ruined the Purple Cherokee, the Striped German, I'm not sure. This little thing was full of garlic. I harvested all my garlic, dried it, that's in the house. It also had a random potato, which died, so I harvested that yesterday. And now it's just got wild carrots and sunflowers and fennel. And as you can see, there are wild carrots everywhere. And other random things. I'm not even going to explain them all. Anyway, this green stalk, I did have to cut this lettuce back sooner than my other lettuce. It died and got bitter sooner, but I did go ahead and reseed. So I've got new lettuce coming up. We'll see how that goes. I also put green beans and radishes in here. I have my spoon tomato down there, my arugula from last year, my broccoli from last year, and then a couple kales going on, and my carrots. So these carrots look better. They look further along, at least for the most part. They might not be as even because I think, actually I guess I should show that. I also have a random sunflower. Sorry about that, got too hot and then the camera died. But as I was saying, random sunflower, I'm probably gonna have to cut it down so it doesn't knock my green stalk down. Over here, I've also got some borage that is randomly coming up. I have another poppy that came up. This pot this year, I did stock and status. The stock did not do super well. Like there's a couple flowers, but the status is doing really well, and I've been able to cut it to dry it to use. This is sunflower patch. Some of it I grew from seeds, some of it just came up on its own. Also, I do have 2 dahlias back here that overwintered from the winter. They are my white blizzard, which thankfully that's the case because the one I planted in my garden bed died. My lamb's ear is looking beautiful. I have a random pot of radishes going on here. And then this one I try to grow patty pan squash, cosmos, and radishes. I can tell by the state of the plants that something is not right in this soil. Obviously they look like I planted these 2 months ago and they haven't put on any growth, and same with the patty pan squash. It's just not doing anything, or the radishes, which at this point they should have radished, but that's okay. That's just there to try. A bunch more sunflowers. I've got this random, I think that's a fleabane, which I love. I'm really glad I didn't pull it because I almost did. I've got a cute little amaranth coming up here. I should probably stop showing the random things that are growing or we'll never leave this garden. So let's go to my tunnel. So I've got a honey nut squash that's doing excellent here, along with 3 cantaloupes that are also doing excellent. I have a blue butterfly pea that is doing well, but not as big as I was hoping it would get. On this side, I had Kajari melons that did not last. They kept getting eaten or whatever. So I transplanted a cucamelon. I've got the hyacinth runner beans, amaranth, and a spoon tomato I moved over here, and another blue butterfly pea that, again, it's not doing super great. It might be that little bun eating it over there. It's fine. A nice time here. This rudbeckia I didn't plant. Cosmos. My greenhouse is for the most part empty, besides, you know, my things that I need. I do have my drying rack up, and like I said, I'm drying the status. I've got my 2 pots in here. Here's what the peach melba looks like, along with my strawberry mint, and I think that is cherry jewel, and then I have black cherry. I've got some onions drying. There's my calendula that I dried, but let's not stick in here. It's a little hot in here. I also have a random squash doing squash things. Another addition I added, so I have my 2 pots, and I did have to update those. I amended with compost, added some new seeds, took out the ranunculus. The snapdragons are doing amazing. I put a little mini pink rose bush in both of them, and it has my precious metal zinnias, so should be really pretty soon. But this garden bed, so I planted a bunch of brassicas that were left over because I had nothing else to do with them anyway. And then I also planted a bunch of zinnias and cosmos. So this is actually doing quite well. I do have some celosia in here too. Here's the celosia. It's kind of interesting to see how well like one side's growing than the other. Like this side is a lot more full. I think it gets a lot more sunlight. And I actually have zinnias that have bloomed. Another random squash too. And then this side, the pot is pretty much exactly the same. Ooh, but I do have a bloom. Yeah, this is my precious metals. So snapdragons, mini rose bush, precious metals. I put hyacinth beans, all kinds of stuff. So let's go now to my patio. So leading up to my patio, I still have my classic big pots here with the Goldilocks, the sweet potato, and the hostas. The dragon's blood sedum did spill out and I've let it go. I've got some random sweet potatoes popping up, calendulas. And on this side, I've got mints and hyssop and calendulas popping up. So that's kind of cool. I know mint shouldn't be in the ground, but it is, so I'm letting it do its thing. These pots here, I have this mandevilla that I got on clearance from Walmart. It's beautiful, along with some celosia. It should be like a hot pink color. That basil is extremely rough, too small of a pot. I'll fix it and plant something else. I've got the fire red pepper growing in there. And then this pot here is mini pink petunias. This, oh my goodness, why can't I think of the name of it? It's like hot pink geranium. There we go. Hot pink geranium. It doesn't have any blooms right now, but it will. It'll come back. And then I have a sweet potato, sorry, a sweet pea that is putting off pea pods. So that might not last much longer, but I'll probably just repot with the same seeds. Oh, hey, I didn't even notice. Shooting out a bloom stalk. All right, this pot over here, this is the Mini Vista Indigo, I believe. I've got some black beauties, no, black prince, snapdragons, gomphrena, a canna lily popping up, a little bee taking a little bee nap. Hi, baby. And a little double petunia. Oh, and my yellow calibroca and my lantana. Got a little portulaca pot here. This is kind of like my hot pink and herb corner, sort of like my tropical. So my nasturtiums, I believe I did the mixed variety in there, which they all came up like that cool orange color. This pot is white bacopa with a bubblegum vista, but the bubblegum vista is really shadowing out my hot pink verbena. But when it is in bloom, the two together, beautiful. My stevia there, and my lemon mint, because I love the way that looks. I let that go to seed because it's pretty. And then I've got this massive dill. It's almost done, but I like to have the big stalks of dill everywhere. My garden here, I do have a random, actually, you know what? No, I'll come back to this because I have to do those. So this pot here, this is my ginger snap, which I really like these. Lantanas, canna, apple blossom snapdragons that overwintered, and this like red lobster verbena that I really like that color. I moved my cinnamon basil to here, and I've got my purple opal basil. And then my other herbs here, I have alyssum, I have parsley, two kinds. My cilantro is flowering because it's got too hot, but I'll let that flower and then I'll plant those seeds. And I also still have chives in here. Swinging to this side, I've got my sage. This one overwintered from last year. This is new this year. I'll probably keep cycling that every year because I like the purple blossoms. I've got the lime green oregano, my rosemary, some is new, some I grew from clippings, and then my thyme and oregano bucket. I use this herb the most out of any herb, to be honest. Over here, I've got this cute begonia. I almost said bacopa. It's not my favorite though. I think the colors are pretty, but they're also just like too delicate, I think, for this area. And then I still have a yellow pansy going on. My little mojito cart, I've got purple opal basil, pineapple mint. This is a berries and cream, and then holy basil. And then I also have a thing back there I do arrangements in, but it needs replaced. Swinging to this side, I've got this begonia mixed with the double white impatiens and the dichondra. One of my favorite combinations I've done, but this is my first favorite combination. I did a Dusty Miller with a mini begonia rose and then a Martha Washington geranium. And all of that together with the alyssum spilling out, I just love it. It's perfection. And then I have a little pot of alyssum and coleus because I was trying to experiment with shade plants this year. I also had to rebuy my lemon tree because I failed miserably last year. That's okay though. It is what it is. And let's swing to over here. And then this is another new pot. This is like the mocha petunia. This is like the dusty pink euphorbia, canna lilies, sweet potato, coleus, alyssum, and this is my variegated fish pepper. It doesn't get enough sunlight though, unfortunately, where I put it, so it's not as beautiful. I also have blue pansies and little violas there too. All right, let's look at this new garden back here. So flanking the wall of my patio on either side, I did make new garden beds this year. The eventual plan is to swoop it down along this side as well. And what I want to do is build tall planter boxes that I'll transition my herbs to. But we just didn't have the time or capacity this year. So we've left it this way for this year. And basically what I did is I picked up a couple plants at a native plant sale, picked up a couple plants from plant swaps, whatever I had left over. So that's why there's a bunch of brassicas in here. I even have a pepper. And then just kind of went from there. So I got this lamium in a plant swap from somebody. I did buy the astilbe. It's like a hot pink astilbe. I got the random red buds trees from somebody. I bought the native aster, which is the tall thing. Threw in some sunflower seeds, so I got a couple of those. Got a coral bells that I got. Snapdragons I dug up. Amaranth that I did not plant but is popping up everywhere. This elephant ear, I saved the bulbs from last year and I was able to split it into 4 separate plantings, so that was cool. I got more amaranth, calendula, portulaca that's coming up randomly. This is a wild geranium. A zinnia I planted. Dahlias I also did not plant. So I don't know where they're from, but I'm not upset by it. That was a delphinium. It was a pretty like light purple. And then I think that is some sort of bee balm, I believe. And then a phlox. And then on this side, I've got another bee balm. More sunflowers I put seeds in for. That is a penstemon. This is a zinnia I planted. And a wild anemone and pachyra I got in a plant swap. Another pepper, brassicas, there's a cosmo. I got my first baptise. Oh my gosh, I can't remember how to say that word. Apparently I'm struggling this morning remembering plant names. Baptisia, there we go. That's my first one. It was a really cool indigo color. I plan to get another one for next year. I also have an elephant ear there. I've got my bleeding heart back, my coreopsis, more snapdragons, cosmos, catmint, and a random kale. So that's kind of my new expansion along with the one around the greenhouse for this year. And plans to expand it further, but we'll see when we get there. This little garden bed, not much has changed. I still have my marigolds flanking. I have my hostas on either side of my beautiful cherry tree. The one thing that does look bad is my lavender. So I got a lot of blooms cut off of it, but I think the tree is getting so large that it's just not getting enough sunlight. So that's something else I'll have to figure out because I really like having lavender. And then my stargazer lilies, they look pretty. Only 2 got eaten this year, so I should have a couple of those. Again, more hostas and more marigolds. All right, let's go look at the shed really quick. All right, in my shed area, my window box definitely looked prettier last year. I don't know if it's my soil or what it is that made it not as lovely and full this year. Maybe it's the sunlight, but that's okay. I didn't have to buy the Goldilocks, which was nice. I did plant radishes here. They are also not doing super great. Chocolate mint. My cactus, another pot of spearmint. I've got my portulacas. Caleb is hot and heavy into composting, which has been pretty cool. So hopefully we'll be able to use some of this soil soon, and he's building a second one. And if I swing over here, I've got more petunias, my milkweed, another random onion. It's gonna give me seeds soon. And then my 2 little pots over here. All right, let's go look at my pollinator side garden. All right, I usually start from the front, but I'm gonna do it backwards this time. So starting on this side with my pollinator side garden, I do have a pot of peppermint that my neighbor gave me, and it's doing fabulous. All of these calendulas I did not plant. I do have some sweet peas back there, but I'm not sure. There's also a random tomato that I didn't know of, but most of the sweet peas look like they died. So, and I planted a bunch down below, but I don't see any green popping up, so I also still have hellebores in here. Here's one of the other elephant ears that I planted. So that's coming up. I still have my heuchera here, and I have some more cucamelons back there that came up from last year. I did have goldenrod here, and I did have to rip it out because it actually pulled the propane. Well, they're not saying that's the issue, but I feel like it probably didn't help because they have kind of deeper roots, which is why they're really good for native soil. So I pulled it out, but I did hear that it's kind of impossible to get rid of. So I still have random goldenrod coming up, but I figure that's okay. I'll just like pull it out every year and keep it smaller. My mother bought hibiscus seeds, as she said, off of Amazon and asked me to grow them for her. So I did. And they are not hibiscus, they are morning glories, which I had a feeling that was going to happen, but it was fun nonetheless. Random sunflower. I did try a rose. As you can see, nothing happened, so that was a failed experiment. I do have a dahlia. I think that's the black touch coming up from last year. Cosmo. Ooh, look at that beautiful zinnia. This must be the coral. So I have 3 zinnias growing in this area, in between the goldenrod. My hydrangea, this little jerk, is much happier in this space. I don't think I've ever seen as many blooms as as this year I've ever seen. So apparently this is its spot. This is another patch of wild fennel that I did have to tie up because it did actually fall down. And another area of wild poppies. These are the Shirley Red, and I just love them. My hibiscus here looks like it's going to bloom soon. Looking forward to that. More random goldenrod. I do have my hyssop back there, which I love. Got some Shasta daisies, some Mexican hats, some Rudbeckia. I also got to see my black hollyhocks for the first time this year. They were gorgeous. I really liked the diversity between the red flowers and the dark red leaves, and then the black hollyhocks. And then shortly behind them, the double champagne hollyhocks also bloomed. They are shadowing my milkweed, which kind of stinks, but the milkweed did bloom. It looks like it's putting its pods off, so I think we're okay. I do have some status here that I planted that I've been cutting. This one's yellow. Some asters that I grew that don't look too great. They're probably done. Some random cosmos zinnia. There's some coreopsis. So this echinacea, I cut back most of its growth because I was struggling with, do I have the dreaded yellow asters disease, or was it just very hot? And I really don't want to cut down and rip out a good pollinator flower like that if it's not asters. But considering that it had the weird bushy growth, the rose behind it has the weird bushy growth, and now this echinacea is starting to do the weird not growing right stuff. Unfortunately, I may have to get rid of all of those, which really stinks. I'll probably just grow new ones this fall or something, but so there's that. Still have some foxglove going on, some heliotrope, I think is what it's called. I do have a Russian sage buried in there, so I'm gonna have to save that because I don't think it's doing okay. Zinnia, Rudbeckia, there's another Rudbeckia. This is gonna be, I believe now that this is my purple mist asters from last year, so that'll bloom in the fall. I've got this wild patch of comfrey, my peony still back there, another patch of random fennel, another patch of fallen over bachelor buttons, which I also am planning to tie back because I have my amaranth back there, and I kind of came up with a little trellising system for that. I also have some sea hollies, but I was thinking about just tying them to help support them. More random Rudbeckia. My sage, I did cut all of the way back, and it does look like it's flushing out a lot of new healthy growth and flowers, so that's cool. I have another echinacea here, And another one here, that is the red sombrero. I've got my Veronica. My mallow has taken over this area, which is really cool. Cosmos Gumfrina, Zinnia, the foxglove. The larkspur's kind of done, so I'm letting that die out, spread its seeds, so hopefully it does this same cool show again next year. I do still have a pot here that has kale. I believe it's the Midnight Vista petunia, along with a couple pansies. My swamp milkweed, my orange daylilies. There is a gaillardia way back there. It looks pretty happy, so that's cool. There was a monarda, but that kind of died. And then I've got a sea of cosmos getting ready to explode. I've got more celosia down here. It's probably the pink flamingo. My crepe myrtle looks really happy in this area, along with some more random sunflowers. My irises did really well this year. I need to separate them and make sure they are able to bloom. My yarrow's been beautiful. I've been cutting that and drying it to use. Got some phlox here. This ajuga is lovely. More zinnias. Oh, there's a new bloom. Look how cute. And then my two pots here. So I've got the Merlot lettuce. Again, I'm kind of waiting for it to flower because I'm going to spread those seeds. Otherwise, it's kind of full of calendula. This one has sweet peas, but it's putting off seeds along with pansies and other things. So they were really lovely this year too. All right. So that has been a tour of my beautiful pollinator side garden. It has been really lovely to watch it bloom and grow, troubleshoot, see what comes up, all of that. So anyway, thanks for watching.